The Checkpoint is presented by GM Pharma, the first international multinational pharmaceutical company in Georgia. GM Pharma, to serve those who need it most.
Russo, thank you for your time. Today we will be talking about TIWB. This is Tax Inspectors Without Borders. And this will be concept will coming across quite often, right? So what it is about and why that initiative matters.
Thank you. The Tax Inspectors Without Borders, TIWB, is a joint initiative of the OECD and UNDP that embeds tax experts in developing countries' tax administrations to provide a practical hands-on assistance on the real audit cases. It's based on the learning by doing approach. So it's mainly about bridging the gaps between theory and practice.
And Georgia is part of this initiative, right?
Absolutely. Currently, we're working in more than 54 jurisdictions, and Georgia is one of our key partners. We launched already 2 programs. Currently, we had a launch on APA, Advanced Pricing Arrangement program with Italian Tax Administration. And overall, we have 4 programs with Georgia. And we've seen enormous progress in terms of the organizational development, in terms of the capacity building, and revenue mobilization. So, which is, I would say, more immediate impact compared to the long-term impact, which is capacity building.
Can you please help us to peek behind the kitchen, so to say? How does the process work? Who are the experts? So how much time it takes to work, in this case, with Georgian officials, who they work with? How does the process go?
Brilliant. So TIWB sent experts to developing countries' tax administration to work and sit along with a local auditor to conduct the real case, the audit case, right? So what are the sources? The main sources for us to deploy the expert is the partner administrations, and currently we have 20 partner administrations which deploy the experts for our programs, or the UNDP managed roster expert pool. And we have more than 50 experts under this roster. So how it works: we receive the assistance request form from the developing countries, and they might have a different request in different sectors. For example, it could be forestry, it could be extractives, telecommunication, financial transactions, but mainly it's about the international tax, about the transfer pricing, APAs, risk assessments. So we operate only and provide assistance on international tax, so we not cover the domestic tax. So we identify expert based on the request and the scope. We share this with our host administration, with the tax administration. So and try to match with the scope and the request. So they have a final say. They have a sovereign right to make a decision during the selection process of the expert. So and then it's quite flexible, quite simple process. We contract the expert either from the partner administration, so which is the first thing go, and then if there is no such an expert, so we try to identify through the roster expert, we send the expert on ground and conduct the mission. So mainly it's about the transfer of knowledge and skills, right? So, and it's important to conduct the on-site missions. And since pandemic started, 2020, we suspended all our missions and continued our operations remotely. It is efficient, but we see that the on-site missions are critical to transfer the knowledge and the skills. So that's why we now use the blended method, which includes the on-site plus the remote work, which increase at the end of the day, I think it works because it's increased the efficiency of delivering our programs. So I said that we focus on the audit programs, right? But the TIWB expanded to the new areas, which is criminal tax investigations, automatic exchange of information. And just here on the automatic exchange of information, you know that the global forum at the OECD is responsible for transparency agenda and implementation of the international standards. But TIWB complements really at the very latest stage where the countries need to effectively use the information they're receiving. It's mainly about the CRS standards, the treatment and use of the CRS So, and we have just pilot program, one program with Malaysia, and learning as well to see how we can expand and help countries. But countries mainly who are reciprocal, they are eligible for the TIWB programs on the automatic exchange of information.
So this cooperation is with the government bodies, or is it with for example, companies as well, private companies? How does that work?
Thank you. So we help the tax administrations at in different in developing countries. So it's mainly it's about the building capacity within the tax administrations. So this has an effect.
So absolutely, effect on.
Absolutely, and this increase the compliance, because if the tax administration is standard is strong, and they have the capacity to conduct the taxation of the very complex transactions. So they know how to communicate with the taxpayer. They set the high standard. If you build the strong infrastructure, you build the trust, right? And you see that the compliance rate increased, so the voluntary compliance from the taxpayers is increasing. And at the end of the day, it helps to create an investment-friendly environment in the countries. So it has indirect impact, and this impact is beyond revenue.
Did you have any calculations how that affects the revenue side as well? Because that's also very important, right?
Absolutely. Overall, 1.6 billion USD collected through the TIWB programs.
That couldn't be otherwise collected if not the improvement of the processes and infrastructure that you have been talking about.
Absolutely,
right?
Absolutely. And as I mentioned, we operate across the world, and this 1.6 billion USD is collected in additional tax revenues, and 3.9 billion tax assessed through the TIWB programs across the world. And we've seen that without help of the international tax experts, the local tax auditors have no enough resources and capacity to deal with the complex international cross-border transactions. So, for example, in Mongolia, through the one program, we raised 228 million USD through one programs, and that was in extractive sector.
Does the country have to pay for this service, or is it like grant-based, or how does that work?
No, I mean, when we conduct the programs, this is mainly as I said, either through the partner administrations, we deploy the expert, which means that the partner administration covers all the fees and the expenses related to the travel and the service provided on ground, or if it's expert, UNDP roster expert, UNDP covers the whole cost. So, and we are grateful to our donors who really support the TIWB programs worldwide. And there are an option and modality if the tax administration, after 2 or 3 programs, they see the development and they are willing to contribute and co-finance the program. So there is a mechanism as well to use this type of this financial structure, but mainly our programs are supported by the partner administrations or donors.
What are some of the frequently asked questions, more broadly, globally about the process?
Yes, I mean, in terms of the design, it's quite simple and very flexible. We're very flexible, and I think that's why TIWB is so successful. And as I said, it complements to the broader work done by other international tax players. And it's kind of a niche assistance. And the main thing is that we don't substitute, meaning that we don't replace the local auditors. We really try through our expert to transfer knowledge and skills and build capacity.
Work with them, right?
Absolutely. This is a learning by doing approach. And I think this is, in terms of the questions, I would say that the scope and the requests maybe, if I can say are different and different industries. So extractives, financial sectors, telecommunications. So I would say these are the key areas where we receive the
more
requests.
complex areas, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, it's quite
so
diverse.
What are the main challenges, like working with so many different different countries? Probably what you mentioned, that you are focusing on international tax. Of course, that simplifies a lot for you, but still, I mean, each country is unique in its problems, in its approaches, in its culture. What are some of the main challenges that this learning by doing process encounters?
A very good question. I think it's case by case, and the biggest challenge we faced was the COVID, right? So the COVID was a challenge, but we tried, and with help of our partner administration, expert and host administrations, to sustain our operations, and 90% of our operations sustained during the COVID. That was the main challenge, because our experts being restricted to travel and to provide the on-site missions, and we, as I said, fully provided our assistance remotely. This is efficient in terms of time management, and experts were able to deliver more virtual missions compared to post-COVID. But we definitely, what we know from experts is that was still problematic, and we extended some of our programs on ground
so that
because
you
of
had
this.
To include on-site visits as well, right?
Absolutely, because these are vital and instrumental to conduct the TIWB programs. In terms of the operations, I think, as you rightly said, all countries have their own cultural sensitivities, and we try to onboard the experts and advice before going on ground. But the good thing is that we have country offices, UNDP country offices there. And I think they provide a support as well in terms of technology. We've seen that in some countries there are slow internet, there is no good conference facilities. So I think this kind of the challenges we faced during the COVID, and the asymmetry of information. So when a lot of stakeholders, this is always an issue, but through our, I think, a model which is very flexible. So I think we're easily dealing with all these challenges and operational.
Yes, and my last question: what are some of the future visions of TIWB? You mentioned that it has already expanded its scope beyond the visits that you just mentioned. Are there any areas where TIWB would see its support necessary and useful?
Definitely. As I said, when we started, we initially focused mainly on the transfer pricing audit and international tax audit cases, right? So now we expanded the TIWB to criminal tax investigations and automatic exchange of information. We're piloting and planning to explore the TIWB into the digitalization of tax administrations. So, and also, this historic agreement on Pillar 1 and Pillar 2, and TIWB will definitely contribute and provide us bespoke assistance to developing countries to implement these rules. And I think one of the immediate responses and immediate assistance could be the tax incentives under the global rules, where TIWB experts can help developing countries to implement these complex and these
Yes.
complex rules. Yeah, absolutely. This is what we envisage, and definitely to gear up and cover more
in
countries.
the context of digitalization of economy, so that our readers as well
Absolutely,
understand
absolutely.
and what has become even more important after the COVID-19 pandemic, right?
Yeah, absolutely. These are like 21st century rules. These are the absolutely new chapter in international tax, and TIWB definitely will contribute in this process and will support the developing countries to implement all these regulations and the new rules.
Yes, thank you so much, and of course wish you success, and thank you for this very interesting interview.
Thank you, my pleasure.
The Checkpoint is presented by GM Pharma, the first international multinational pharmaceutical company in Georgia. GM Pharma, to serve those who need it most.